All right. Well, I want to jump in here really quick and give you some information that I found out, or based on a story or something that happened to me this last week. Um, you know, a lot of times people are asking me, how can I get promoted? How can I move forward in my career? I work a lot with chief audit executives. So a lot of people say, how can I become a chief audit executive? That's something I've dreamed of doing. How do I actually get the job? Well, I'm going to tell you that, wishing and hoping isn't going to get you the job. It's not going to get you a job as a CAE. It's not going to get you that next job of whatever it happens to be that you want. Okay. And here's the reason is in order to get the next job, you need to have proof. Okay. Now, what do I mean by proof? Well, again, let me share with you a couple of stories to help illustrate this. This last week, I was actually talking to someone who had put in for a new job, had gone through the interview process as well. And as part of the interview, she was asked about her agile auditing experience. And so, of course, she said, well, that's kind of what we do where I'm currently at. I'm familiar with it. I understand what it is. Did she get the job? No, because, again, as I told you, to get the job, you need proof. So again, you can tell people all you want, right? But do people listen to what you say, or do they listen for what you do and look at what you do? Are they looking for proof, right? So again, imagine going in and let's say you need some medical procedure done. So you go into somebody and they say, oh, yeah, I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor. I know exactly what to do. I've done that operation hundreds of times. Well, would you just take that person's word for it and say, sure, Jason, go ahead, cut me open. Let's go ahead and do that. You probably wouldn't, right? Because again, you don't just trust people's word either. You expect some sort of proof. Now, proof can come from different ways, okay? So as an example, how did I get my first job as a chief audit executive? Well, I had proof. The organization had proof of me and of my abilities. Now, how did they do that? Well, when I was going to college, I worked for that organization in their accounting department. So they had 2 years of my experience of working for them. When I graduated from college, I went on to Arthur Andersen. Guess who was one of my clients? That same company. So for the next 6 years, they saw me as one of their external auditors. And so I had that experience with them. So when they were looking for a new chief audit executive, they already knew me, right? I had already proven myself to them by having 8 years of experience with them. Now, yes, I had my CPA license. I was a CPA, but they had the proof in those 9 years of experience. Okay. So because of that, it made it very easy for me to get that job, right? Because I had the proof. Now, I realize that most of you don't have that luxury, right? You probably don't have years of experience with a potential employer. In fact, most of the time, you put in your resume, you apply for a position, you hope that you get interviewed, that you do well in the interview, you move on. But, at the end of the day, one of the things that they use to determine who are we going to interview or who are we not going to interview is the proof that's on your resume or the proof that's on your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so where does that proof actually come from if you don't have that experience with people? Well, one of the biggest ways is through certification. Okay, by having certifications, by proving that you know information, by having learned the material, having gone through, taken an exam, and proven that you understand that information. Now you have some proof that that organization can see, hey, Jason actually knows what he's talking about because he has these certifications. Okay. That's honestly one of the big ways. And again, as being a hiring manager, one of the first things that we would do, we would get hundreds of resumes. So how are we going to separate and decide who we're going to interview and who we're not going to interview? Well, a lot of it in that first round is, do the people have the experience that we're asking for? And are they certified? Do they have proof that they actually know what they're talking about? If they didn't, we probably threw their resumes in the trash. Okay. And like I said, when you're going through hundreds of resumes, that's honestly what you have to do. Okay. Now, let me go back to that story that I told you about before. Remember that lady that I was telling you about that said she didn't get the job because she couldn't prove? She told them that she had that experience, but she didn't have anything to prove it. So why was I talking to her? Because after she didn't get that job, she signed up for the Certified Agile Auditor Professional certification because she said, I'm not going to let that happen to me again. I'm going to have something on my resume that proves that I actually know what I'm talking about. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about. If you want to get that next job, whatever it is, you have to be able to prove. Okay. Sometimes that proof comes from your experience. Okay. Because again, people are looking for your experience, right? You wouldn't imagine this, right? If you start off and you're right out of college and you have 1 year of experience and you apply for a chief audit executive position, I can guarantee you're probably not going to get it, right? Because they know after 1 year, you probably don't have the experience level that they're not even going to consider you. But, how are they going to, again, separate those people out? Go from those hundreds of people who have applied for this and determine who they're actually going to interview. They're going to look at your resume. If you have something on your resume, plus you have the experience, right? So a certification plus the experience, much more likely that you're actually going to get an interview. Now, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the job because you could go into the interview and totally screw it up, right? And if you totally screw up the interview, you're not going to get the job anyway, right? But you're not going to even get the interview unless you have that proof. Does that make sense? Okay. So why am I on here talking about this? Because again, I had that discussion with this lady last week. And also there's some information that you should be aware of. If becoming a chief audit executive is something that you want to do, or if it's maybe something you've just moved into, you just became a chief audit executive, or maybe you've been there for a while, but it's like, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I'd like to know more, right? Or again, if you're looking for another position or you're looking to move into that role, you might be saying, well, how can I get some proof about that? Well, that's where the Certified Chief Audit Executive certification program comes in. There is no other, did you hear that? There is nothing else like this. There is no certification for chief audit executives except this. Okay, there's another one called the QAIL, but we're not going to talk about that right now because that only relates to people who have been a chief audit executive for a long time. Doesn't help you get a job as a chief audit executive. So again, why am I bringing this up? Well, the other reason is we've been building this out. And honestly, I've been working on this with other people who have been chief audit executives who have done this work before. And this is the most comprehensive and most inclusive course on how to become and how to be a successful chief audit executive that there is out there. Okay. And so the fact, excuse me, that you're still listening to this means, hey, this is probably something I'm interested in. Well, again, if you're one of those people, I'm going to give you a date, August 15th. The 15th of August is a very important date for you. Why? Because as we started rolling out the Chief Audit Executive course, we have an early adopter price, which means you can save significantly when you get in right now. It's available for registration right now. You can get in right now. Now, why am I telling you that? And why am I telling you that 15th of August date? Because on the 15th of August, the early adopter pricing goes away. So again, if this is something that you want, this is probably the time for you to seriously consider it so you can actually get in for a much, much lower investment than what it's going to be in a couple of weeks. So again, if you're listening to this, if this is something that you're interested in, click on the link, go over and look at it. And again, if it's something that you want, I would suggest you get in now, unless you want to pay more money later. That's fine. If you want to sit around and wait and think about it for a month or two, go ahead. It's your choice. But what I can tell you is the price is going up. Okay, now with that, the last thing is, you might look at it and you look at the price and you think, oh boy, that's too expensive. I can't afford that. Well, is it that you can't afford it or that you're just kind of scared? Okay, and I'm just going to be honest with you here. The amount of investment and the time to put in is most likely, and again, this is not applicable for everybody, but most people who would go through this program will earn at least $100,000 more over their career by getting these other positions. That is a significantly different amount of money in your life. Again, imagine if you had an extra $100,000, $300,000 worth of income, what that would do for you, what it would do for your family. And so really, it's not even about the investment. It's about whether or not you want to be confident, whether you want to be successful, whether you want to have more executive presence in that executive role, and whether you want to earn a lot more money. If you do, then you should seriously consider this, okay? But again, I'm not here to sell you anything, because honestly, I don't really care whether you sign up or not. The choice is completely up to you. I'm just letting you know that the option is there, okay? Because again, since you're still listening to this, you're probably sitting there thinking this is probably something that I should do. And if it is, go check out the link, get registered. As I said, before August 15th is what I would suggest. But hey, if you want to wait, perfectly fine as well. So just to kind of wrap up, again, is if you want that next job, if you want that promotion, whatever it is, you need to have proof. Just telling people that you know what you're talking about is not enough. And it's definitely not enough in today's day and age as well. So with that, I'll catch you on the next live. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.